We've heard about the inhumane medical experiments performed on camp prisoners, but no word ever mentioned by the media or the TV documentaries of the mind control experiments. That was not to be divulged to the American public. John G. Masuda, father of the Information Society, stated his concern in 1980 that our liberty is threatened Orwellian style by cybernetic technology, totally unknown to most people. This technology links the brain of people via implanted microchips to satellites controlled by ground-based supercomputers. The first brain implants were surgically inserted in 1974 in the state of Ohio, and also in Stockholm, Sweden. Brain electrodes were inserted into the skulls of babies in 1946 without the knowledge of their parents. In the 1950s and 60s, electrical implants were inserted into the brains of animals and humans, especially in the United States. During research into behavior modification and brain and body functioning, mind control methods were used in attempts to change human behavior and attitudes. Influencing brain functions became an important goal of military and intelligence services. 30 years ago, brain implants showed up in X-rays, approximately the size of 1 centimeter. Subsequent implants shrunk to the size of a grain of rice. Today they are small enough to be inserted into the neck or back, and also intravenously in different parts of the body during surgical operations, with or without the consent of the subject. It is now almost impossible to detect or remove implants. It is technically possible for every newborn to be injected with a microchip, which could then function to identify the person for the rest of his or her life. Such plans were secretly being discussed in the United States without any public airing of the privacy issues involved. In Sweden, Prime Minister Olof Palme gave permission in 1973 to implant prisoners, and data inspectors ex-General Jan Fries revealed that nursing home patients were implanted in the mid-1980s. Implanted human beings can be followed anywhere. Their brain functions can be remotely monitored by supercomputers and even altered through the changing of frequencies. Guinea pigs in secret experiments have included prisoners, soldiers, mental patients, handicapped children, deaf and blind people, homosexuals, single women, the elderly, school children, and any group of people considered marginal by the elite experimenters. The published experiences of prisoners in Utah State Prison, for example, are shocking to the conscience. Today's microchips operate by means of low-frequency radio waves that can target from a distance. With the help of satellites, the implanted person can be tracked anywhere on the globe. When a microchip is placed in the optical nerve of the eye, it draws neural impulses from the brain that embody the experiences, smells, sights, and voice of the implanted person. Once transferred and stored into a computer, these neural impulses can be projected back to the person's brain by the microchip to be re-experienced a second time. Using an RMS, a land-based computer operator can send electromagnetic messages, encoded as signals, to the nervous system, affecting the target's performances. With RMS, healthy persons can be induced to see hallucinations and to hear voices in their heads. Every thought, reaction, hearing, and visual observation causes a certain neurological potential, spikes and patterns in the brain and its electromagnetic fields, which can now be decoded into thoughts, pictures, and voices. Electromagnetic stimulation can therefore change a person's brainwave and affect muscular activity, causing painful muscular cramps experienced as torture. The NSA's electronic surveillance system can simultaneously follow and handle millions of people. Each of us has a unique bioelectrical resonance frequency in the brain, just as we have unique fingerprints. With electromagnetic frequency, brain stimulation, fully coded, pulsating electromagnetic signals can be sent to the brain, causing the desired voice and visual effects to be experienced by the target. This is a form of electronic warfare. United States astronauts were implanted before they were sent into space so their thoughts could be followed and all of their emotions could be registered 24 hours a day. The Washington Post reported in May 1995 that Prince William of Great Britain was implanted at the age of 12. Thus, if he was ever kidnapped, a radio wave with a specific frequency could be targeted to his microchip. The chip's signal could then be routed through a satellite to the computer screen of police headquarters, where the prince's movements could be followed. He could actually be located anywhere on the globe. The mass media has not reported that an implanted person's privacy vanishes for the rest of his or her life. He or she can be manipulated in many ways, using different frequencies. The secret controller of this experiment can even change a person's emotional life. He can be made aggressive or lethargic. Sexuality can be artificially influenced. Thought signals and subconscious thinking can be read, dreams affected, and even induced, all without the knowledge or consent of the implanted person. A perfect cyber soldier can thus be created. This secret technology has been used by military forces in certain NATO countries since the 1980s without civilian and academic populations having heard anything about it. Thus, little information about such invasive mind control systems is available in professional and academic journals. The NSA's Signals Intelligence Group can remotely monitor information from human brains by decoding the evoked potentials emitted by the brain. Prisoner experimentees in both Gothenburg, Sweden, and Vienna, Austria, have been found to have evident brain lesions. Diminished blood circulation and lack of oxygen in the right temporal frontal lobes result when brain implants were usually operative. A Finnish experimentee experienced brain deterioration and intermittent attacks of unconsciousness due to a lack of oxygen. Mind control techniques can be used for political purposes. The goal of mind controllers today is to induce the targeted persons or groups to act against his or her own convictions and best interest. Zombified individuals can even be programmed to murder and remember nothing of their crime afterwards. Alarming examples of this phenomenon can be found in the United States. This silent war is being conducted against unknowing civilians and soldiers by military and intelligence agencies. Since 1980, electronic stimulation of the brain has been secretly used to control people targeted without their knowledge or consent. An international human rights agreement forbids non-consensual manipulation of human beings, even in prisons, not to speak of civilian populations. In addition to electronic mind control, chemical methods have also been developed. Mind-altering drugs and different smelling gases affecting brain function negatively can be injected into air ducts or water pipes. Bacteria and viruses have also been tested this way in several countries.